Okay, so we're going to make our first HTML document now. An important thing here is that you're using a plain text editor. Here I'm using Text Wrangler. If you look on the website or in the comments for this video, you'll see that I've linked to a couple plain text editors. You should not use a built-in plain text editor on your computer. You should not use Microsoft Word. They will not save your files correctly. Every time I teach an HTML class, somebody ignores that and they do it anyway, and it totally doesn't work and they're super frustrated. So please, 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 there's free software out there that works really well. Don't try to avoid a simple download and use something on your computer because it's just going to make your life miserable. All right, so everybody has a plain text editor, Text Wrangler, or one of the other ones that I have linked. Good. So now let's talk about the basic structure of an HTML document. All HTML documents are basically the text that you want to appear on the screen, plus some code thrown in there to make it look the way you want. And that code takes the form of tags. That's the markup part of HTML, the hypertext markup language. Tags are enclosed in less than and greater than signs. This is the HTML tag. So we start with the less than sign, and then we have HTML, which is the name of the tag, and then the greater than sign to close it off. So this is a tag. Every tag has a matching end tag. So this tag says we're starting the HTML document, and then we do the same thing, but with this forward slash, and that says we're ending the HTML document. So every tag that you start has to have a matching end tag to close it off. This HTML tag is the thing that contains the whole HTML document, but we're going to see as we go on much clearer examples of where the start and end tags are useful. So within the HTML document, we have two main sections. We have the head and the body. The head section has information about the page, like its title, any metadata, and we'll eventually use this for style sheets and importing other parts of code to the document. The body is the actual text that shows up on the screen. So let's start there by doing just a basic introductory computer science thing. We're going to say, hello world. That goes between the start and the end tag for the body, and that'll appear on the page. So let's save this document. I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to call it hello.html. You have to pick the extension that goes on this. HTML is generally what's used. Some Windows computers used to default to only allow you to have 3 characters in the extension, so you would see .htm, and it will work if you do that, but you should get in the habit of doing HTML. A common mistake that students run into at this point in the process is that they have not downloaded the kind of text editor I've told them to. They're trying to work in Word or Notepad or WordPad, and that will allow you to name your file like this, but it will automatically append a .txt to the end, and then your file won't work. So I want to emphasize again that you need to download a plain text editor that is designed for writing HTML, and if you run into a problem where it's just showing you the code you've just written instead of looking like a page, it's probably because your text editor appended a dot something onto the end after your HTML. So it matters what you have as this extension here. So we're going to call this hello.html. You can basically name these files anything you want before the dot. You just shouldn't have any spaces in there. I'm going to save this. And now there's a couple things that we can do. We can put this up on a web server somewhere so we can access it over the web. But you can actually view these files that are saved on your computer in your web browser. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to Firefox, my web browser. There's nothing there now. And I'm going to go to File and do New Window. You can just do Control-N to get that. So you have a blank window. And now what we want to do is open the document that we just had. So you can do that here, Open File, or you can just do Control-O like you would in any program. And that'll let you pick. So here's our hello.html file that we just created. And I'm going to open that in the browser. And you can see there's our text hello world. It doesn't show any of the tags we put in because the tags themselves don't show up. They're just used to structure the document. Now, if we look up in the address bar on the browser here, you can see that it has file : / and then the path on my computer where this file is located. That's what the browser uses to find the file on your local computer. You should never, ever, ever put something that looks like this in your code, like when you're making a link or when you're referring to things. And I'll emphasize this again when we get to the point where we're actually making those. This is something that refers to your specific computer. A really common mistake that students make when they're early on in their HTML careers is that they'll copy this out of the address bar and use it to refer to something in their code, and then no one else can ever see it, and it's broken. So this is only notation for your local computer. You should never use it anywhere except if you're looking at stuff on your computer. And since we're mostly just opening these files, it's something that you can totally ignore. Again, once we get to doing links and images, I'll re-emphasize that for you because it's a very common mistake. But what we've got now is our HTML document is working. If we switch back here to our document and type in some more code, we can save that, come over here and just reload the page, and we can see that the new text shows up. So we're not uploading anything anywhere. This is not on the web. Nobody else can see it. We're just looking at a file on our own computer. Now if we switch back to our file here, we've talked about tags. They always look like this in the less than or greater than signs. And generally as we go forward, I'm going to refer to those as brackets just because it's easier to say than less than and greater than signs. So we have our tags inside the brackets. Every tag has a matching start and end tag. We can also see that they're nested properly. So we have our HTML here at the beginning, the end tag at the end, and then inside that we have the head and the end head. Once the head is over, then we go to the body here. But we don't ever cross these. So if you start a tag, you want to end it before the next one starts, unless they're totally contained in each other. So the kind of thing I'm talking about that we wouldn't do is something like this, where we start the head, and then we start the body, and then we end the head, and then we end the body. So the head isn't contained within the body tags, the body is not contained within the head tags, and they're not separate from each other. There's a weird overlap. That won't break anything in a lot of cases, but it's bad form to get into, and there can be little cases where if you do that, things get screwed up. So you always want to have things kind of nested like Russian nesting dolls. Have one totally inside the other or have them next to each other, but don't cross things between them. Also, tags are not case sensitive in that if you put them in all uppercase or even if you switch the case like this, it'll still work in your browser, but it's in correct form. So it was the case back in the day when HTML was originally created that it was totally case insensitive. You could put this one in all caps, you could have the end in lowercase, it would be fine. Since then, the language has been updated over the last 20 years, and now basically all of your tags are supposed to be lowercase. So that's proper form, but if you don't do that, it'll still work because there's all these old web pages from the 90s out there that have weird case in it, and the browsers don't want those to break, so they still support it, regardless of what the case is. So I'm going to do everything in lowercase. It's proper and correct to do it all in lowercase, but a lot of times you'll run into stuff that's not all lowercase, and that's okay. It'll still work, and you can try it yourself, and you'll see that it still works. Now, within the document, we've got our tags, but the tags can also have stuff in them. So let's put one here. This is called an attribute. It goes inside the body tag before we have the little close bracket, and it says something about how the page is supposed to look. So in this case, the attribute is BG color. That sets the background color of the document, and we have it set equal to yellow. We're going to do a whole section on colors and how you can pick them later on in the class, but for now, you can put in kind of basic color words, and they'll work. When you have an attribute, it has two parts. It has a name, and that is set equal to a value. So we also call these name-value pairs. They're always set up in pairs like this. And you have the name of your attribute, BG color, is set equal to the value, and the value is supposed to always be in quotes. Now again, sometimes you'll see things like this, where the quotes are totally missing, and that'll work. This is another one of these things where back in the day, it was the case that you didn't necessarily need the quotes, and the standard has been updated, so now it's proper to use the quotes. You probably will see me occasionally leave quotes off because I've been writing HTML since like 1993 and I have some bad habits. But it's a good idea to always put the quotes there, and I'm going to try to do it. You can use double quotes or single quotes. Both of those are fine. But a common mistake that people make is that they'll start to put the quotes and they'll put the first one and they'll leave off the last one. And then stuff will definitely break. So let's look at this working and then we'll see what happens if we leave one of the quotes off. So this is the background color of the document should be yellow. I'm going to save that file. And if I come back here and reload it, now you can see we have a very yellow background. Okay, so what happens if I leave the close quote off? So I've got the start quote and the close is ended. Sometimes the browser knows what to do and sometimes it doesn't. Here you can see when I reloaded it, we got a weird yellow. It changed from the one we had before and our text disappeared. The text is still in the document, but the browser's looking and it says, well, the background color is yellow, bracket, hello world, all of these things. It doesn't think that we've ever stopped telling it what the color is. So we just have a big, long list of stuff that is going in the color, and the browser doesn't know how to handle it. So if you get something like that happening, make sure all of your quotes are closed. If we reload after fixing it, now we get back the page that we had before. One final note on this, your attributes, the name value pairs, always go in the start tag. So here we've got them in the body tag, but they never ever go in the end tag. The end tag is always just a /, the name of the tag, and then the close bracket. So only put those things up in the start tag here.